Welcome. We're home today. Um, Different background and all that, but welcome to post uh, show chat. I'm breaking the silence. You can hear me. Good, Mary. Mary said she can hear me. It's a different setup here because I'm at uh, my big computer set up for doing all the CGI and stuff. So I'm the camera's right here and the screen's here. So if I'm looking up there, it's because I'm watching what's going on the screen, and over here I'm watching all of you in chat. And thank you very much for being here. And I have to say that the show that we did last night with Whitley Strieber was one of our longest. Um, and I think it was one of the most significant shows regarding this subject matter uh, that we've ever done. And if you haven't watched it, it's worth sitting through the full 2 hours. Whitley is amazing. We talked in detail about things to each other that we hadn't shared before, that we were unaware of, that each other had both experienced, some things that we haven't experienced, or he experienced, I didn't, and I did, and he didn't. And we talked a lot about the nature of the experience and what we sort of believe the end game with it all is. And it has really nothing to do with metal ships with alien creatures from other planets coming here. I mean, that may be part of it, but overall, uh, it's much more involved in that, much bigger than that. And he talks about his implant too, and very similar to the one I have, and even the same location. Um, and both of us got it from a man and a woman that came to our house, which was something else. Um, but I highly recommend you watch the show because it was amazing. And it was humorous because Whitley's always great about jokes and telling us about the pranks he played as a child and some of the amazing things that he experienced and that we both experienced uh, when it comes to connecting with the cosmos, nature. And it was just really, really good. And not many of you watched it, so which is sort of surprising to me. Uh, Maybe something was going on last night I was unaware of. But please do watch it and listen to it very carefully because if you're in question about this experience and you are a participant in it, as many of you are, then it will really help you. I mean, it really will. I don't know if it'll help you to understand everything, but it will bring you, as it has me, to a comfort level with all of this um, that makes you feel good. It has been quite a gauntlet going through this experience, and I think most experiences are that are worth anything. So moving on to tonight's show, which was the first communion letter that Mary has read. It will be in a series of them that she will read and that I will do my visuals for. I see my green screen needs more light on it. There. Oh, that's very interesting. All right, what's some more light on it? Oh, there's more light on me. No, that's not what it is. There's something filtering in from somewhere. So when I put my arm up, I block it. It's interesting. So, how'd you like it? I mean, it was our first shot doing it, first time doing it. So, um, I'm trying to get my feet wet with it. I liked it. Um, I can see how I want to do things differently, but in the next one or the next couple, but it always as you're starting off with something new, it's a learning experience, and you get better at it as you go. Um, and Mary's reading through the book, trying to pick out the ones that will be had the most impact, and also be able to take advantage of the visuals we're able to do. So you love The Visitor. Oh, good. Um, what's the name of last night's video? Well, it wasn't a video. It was a live stream. We have a live stream every Friday at 4 p.m. with a special guest. Whitley's been on the show 4 times. He was his 4th time on the show last night because we've known each other for years and years and years. And so it was the live stream with Whitley Strieber. Now, people have a hard time finding it for some reason. They look in videos and it's not there. Well, that's because if you look up at the tab above, it'll say live. It'll say playlist, videos, live. Live is where the recordings of our live shows are. So you'll find it there. It was the most recent one, a little picture of Whitley in a colorful background. And I may do an updated thumbnail for that, just so it's like maybe just this huge, enormous head of Whitley sitting in it. So I know he's listening right now. So, and I promise I won't put little lines down here, Whitley. Anyway, but it was really an important show. This one, right?
So yeah.
Friday night. Yes, that's correct, Jim. And thank you for taking an interest in it. You know, the whole thing with this experience is that you have a lot of people on the internet with 100,000 plus subscribers and millions of views per video. That the video may have been up like 2 days and it's got millions of views, and that's fine. But what I find when I watch them, to be fair, I watch everybody. I can, because I want to know what's being said. I want to know how they feel and what their perspective is on this experience. And what I find is repeatedly, over and over and over and over and over again, with the exception of Dreamland with Whitley Strieber, which has been ongoing ever since Art Bell left the airwaves. He's been carrying that torch ever since with Dreamland and his podcasts, which are also videos, like this one. And then there's our show. There are others out there like Mr. Gray, who I think does a wonderful job interviewing people who have these experiences. Jeff Mara, and there are many that do good interviews, but we tend to cater towards the community, or as Whitley calls it, the family. The family being the people who have these experiences alone. And there are millions of you, and there are quite a few of them right here. And we really talk to them, and we really share with them, and we are part of that family. And so our show is much different than anyone else's, like I said, with the exception of Whitley, because Whitley is the same way. And in fact, in last night's show, he was talking about Jake Barber, and he was saying that Jake needs to be with us. He needs to talk to us because he's one of the family, and yet he's trying to deal with these disclosure people in the government, and nothing's ever going to happen with that except lies. You'll never be told the truth by them. You have to accept that. I do. I'm not saying I'm telling you to. Don't you have to? No, it's not like that. I'm just saying, as a matter of fact, I've had to accept that because it's just never going to happen. They've been lying for 80 years. They've been covering up stuff, treating you like an idiot, conditioning the public to think that people like us are idiots and crazy people. If they could, they'd strap us to stakes and set fire to us, but they can't. At least not yet. So that's what our channel is really about. And that's why, we've never sold out to advertisers. Yes, we have commercials. And the thing about the commercials is even when we weren't monetizing, they were putting commercials up anyway. And then it just became clear that, well, if they're going to do that, then we might as well monetize, because we spend so much of our money doing this show, because we don't use our iPhones for the show. We use professional studio cameras, because I've been in the business as a Hollywood filmmaker and visual effects artist for years. And so I tend to be a little snobby, and I like using real pro cameras and real pro sound. And even this camera I'm using now is not a camera on my laptop. It's a camera I purchased. It's high resolution. It's very good camera. Same goes for the mics and everything else. So we spent a lot of money to make the show have good audio, to have good visual and good picture, despite my green screen, which is just not lit enough right now.
You forgot.
But it is a professional studio quality green screen. Anyway, you'll forgive me tonight, I'm sure. So we do put a lot of money into the show, and not to mention for the newcomers here that we produce probably, God, we must be up to 50 filmed episodes, not just short films like the one that started off this show tonight as a warm-up film. That was a recent film that I did that's all CGI. But we do interviews, or actually I don't call them interviews. They're it's storytelling. We have people who have these experiences just like you, come in front of camera, sit down and tell their story to camera without being led, without being interviewed, without being steered in a direction that we think will be good for clickbait. We let them tell their story, and then of course I do the visuals to it.
But no one's coming forward.
But right now, no one's coming forward. We have Dale Robinson. Dale Robinson is a pastor. He's also ex-Navy, I believe. Yeah, Navy. And he has these experiences, and he's part of Cyril, Yvonne Smith's group, as I am, and many of us are, because we've all worked with her. She's a fabulous hypnotherapist. And he decided to come forward and spill his guts on camera and tell his story, all things that have been happening to him through his life and what he's experiencing now. And he just looks right at the camera, just like I'm looking at you right now, and tells you how it is. Yeah, the trailer for his show is in the video section. You can see it. And the show is going to premiere March 8th. That's on a Saturday, and that'll be at 3 p.m., Mary?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is 3 p.m. And then the post show is afterwards, like this one is. It's about 35 minutes long, and he goes into a lot of detail about things. And each person's experience are similar, but there's always differences or different things that they experience. Like with Dale, he actually experienced going to another world, another planet. A lot of people do that, but we've also had a number of episodes where they didn't know if that happened or not. So there's always something new to learn from each experiencer, which is one of the nice aspects of doing these shows. So those shows are all shot on a professional camera, professional microphones, Sennheiser microphones, mixers, and sound recorders, and good lighting, and all that. And all that stuff costs money. So yes, we have monetization going on, and I think what we're up to, I don't know, what are we up to, Mary?
On what?
on our monetizing.
I don't remember.
You don't remember. It's not much, I can tell you that. It's, we're talking a few $100s a month, and that's it. Whereas a lot of the people that you probably watch with the 100,000 subscribers plus and the 1 million views, those people are making $100,000 a month and more off of what they're doing. I mean, it's like, I know that because we're making a few hundred a month, and we have 12,400 subscribers, and our videos will get the highest we've gotten recently is 40,000, almost 50,000 views. The first one we ever did got 150,000 views. I think it's at 200,000 views now, but that's a year later. So I know these guys are making big bucks, but most of their shows are really just clickbait. They put up a good thumbnail, and they grab you, and they're very Hollywood and very flashy, a lot of them, and that's people like entertainment, and that's what it is. So we're trying to bring you the straight scoop about this subject matter. And I, being someone who has had lifelong experiences, um, Mary thought originally was the perfect person to bring this to the internet, and that because this was Mary's idea to do Breaking the Silence. We wouldn't be doing this at all if it wasn't for Mary. And Mary's been the backbone and the foundation of everything that you've seen and heard on this channel. There'd be nothing without her. So it's important you know that too, because it's just the two of us working very, very hard to do all this. And trust me, we enjoy it. We really do. We enjoy all of you. I'm looking at everyone in chat, and we just love you, and we love our family. We've been calling it community, but Whitley called it a family last night, and I think that's actually kind of true because we're all connected with this experience. So, water, nothing like it. So, with the community letters, each one is different to some degree. And I don't know how many of you have read the communion letters. How many of you have read the communion letters? You can still get the communion letters. You can get them. You can get it off Amazon. Just type in Whitley Strieber's books, and it'll take you right there.
I'll get it for him.
And you need to read that book. It's amazing. In fact, you need to read all of his books because communion was the catalyst. It's the one that brought us all together, did more for the community or the family than any other book, in my opinion, that's been written. But then there were many books to follow, and they're all good. They all have something in it very, very important, including his most recent book, The Fourth Mind, which I highly recommend you read also. We're not trying to sell books here. We're trying to sell information, very important information from someone who's had who's invested more of his time and energy in this subject than anyone I can think of. And Anne Strieber, his wife as well, who's still very much a guiding force, according to Whitley, in all of this from the other side. He talked about that last night too. It's a remarkable episode. I know I keep going back to it, but it's just I was just amazed by what we did last night. It was great. Whitley was very relaxed, very comfortable. It was just like he said to me earlier today. He said that it was like we were just hanging out together, talking. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this or show that this is real, and not just put on a show. Hey, welcome tonight to Breaking the Silence, and we have Whitley Strieber with you, and he's going to tell jokes, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and hey, and you're going to love it. Now for commercial. That is not us. If you watch the show from last night, that's us. And that's what was just so wonderful about it, and I can't begin to thank him enough. We'll drag him back for you, kicking and screaming. No, actually, he enjoys it as much as I do. So you enjoyed the communion letters. Not many people were there to watch it because I get the feeling that, it's not an experience story. It's someone reading the letters. I may be wrong about that, but in time, it'll catch on what we're doing with the communion letters. And that's another reason I would like many people who are watching this show to read the communion letters. And there was a lot more to the series of books that Whitley has written over all the years. God, we're 40 years now on this subject. And they very much dovetail. And you can move through his experience and his knowledge of this experience as it evolves through the books. It's incredible. I wish that I would very much love if things were different to make Communion into a movie or any of his books into a movie. I feel I have a good handle on it, and I could direct a good film and really show it like it is. Because when I saw the movie Communion, I was disappointed on many levels. I was disappointed. The first level is I was supposed to be involved in the film. Maybe many of you may not realize that, but Whitley and I didn't know each other at that time. Not yet. We wouldn't meet for another couple of years or so. And I had gone in. I had met with the director. I had met with the production people. I showed them my work. I brought in a bust of the Communion head that I had sculpted to show them. And they knew I'd worked on all these big movies and stuff. And I was up for it until someone on the production staff said, "Oh, no, you need to go with my friend Tom Berman." And Tom Berman ended up getting the job. They did an okay job. They did well, but that was a disappointment, because I thought, well, this will be my chance. I'll get to meet Whitley. I'll get to work on this movie about this wonderful book I had read that I have so much affinity for. And none of that happened. But then after that, I saw the film. I could barely finish watching it. It just was not his book. It didn't. It was made by someone who didn't have a connection with this experience enough to know how to make that film, how to make that book into a film. And I think that's what that book really needs, or any of Whitley's books. It needs someone who has an affinity for the subject, understands it, even better, has the experience to be able to do it. So anyway, that was a disappointment for me, and I would love to direct one of his books as a film. But we are very grateful to be able to do the Communion letters, and it was really nice of him to give us permission to do that. So, and we will continue doing them and make them really spectacular. This one tonight was only 10 minutes long or thereabouts. And it all depends on the letters. Some are longer, some are shorter. And so we're just going to do one at a time. We don't have people coming forward to go in front of camera. Mary brought that up a minute ago. And we don't have people sending us letters either. But Whitley told me he gets lots of letters. And so
we're going to do the Communion letters.
So we're going to do the Communion letters, and then hopefully the Communion letters can continue because he has other letters. I don't know if we can use those or not, but we'll see. Meanwhile, you are still welcome to send us a letter if you don't want to go on camera, you don't want to be seen, you want to keep your identity secret. We understand that very, very well. And but you can send us a letter anonymously, and we will read it, and we will turn it into a visualized experience for people to be able to understand what you may have seen and experienced and what it felt like. Additionally, if you're brave, and I think at this point in time in history, more than any other time, we need to be very brave. But I understand that some of you, that bravery may cost you your family, your spouse, your job, but not in all cases. So if you want to come forward and go in front of camera and get it off your chest and tell your story, just give us a call, send us an email. If you're out of the state, there are ways we can capture your story on video and turn that into a show. I did that with Tim's show, Katie. And he sent us cell phone footage, and we turned that into a show, and it worked out very well. So if you dare, we're here for you. Meanwhile, to keep the channel going, we're going to do Communion letters, and I'm working on films. Now, the films are fictional, but they are about this subject. So it's possible that in the near future, some of them won't be fictional. But I don't know what the rules, the laws, and the regulations are regarding classic cases. Because if I can, I would like to do some classic cases. Everything from Cash Landrum to Barney and Betty Hill to uh, the Ohio case with the Army pilots and the helicopter. That's a fantastic case. Lonnie Zamora. The list is huge. But I don't know if those are public domain, if I'm allowed to do it or not. And but if I am, while we wait for people to come forward and tell their story on camera, I'll reenact and recreate some classic cases. Plus, it'd be a good way for people to be up on the history of this subject matter. A lot of people who are on the fence, who are curious, don't quite buy it, might change their mind after they realize that, a police officer cruising out in the Arizona desert saw a craft land and beings get out of it in broad daylight. It left imprints on the ground, evidence that it had been there. And I think J. Allen Hynek was involved in that case because it had a lot of evidence. He was a very credible person. And I think the public that thinks this is all fringe kind of misses these cases. Even the Betty and Barney Hill case is really significant, important case. Those people were not lying, and they weren't delusional either. So it'd be great to bring shows like that to life again. It's the Barney and Betty Hill, the UFO incident is I think on it's on YouTube, the movie that was done by Universal, and for some reason that movie was absolutely perfect to the book, because I read the book and I saw the film and it was incredible. I don't know how it got funded. I don't know how it got made that way, because it wasn't about ratings. It was about whoever did that wanted to make it an accurate story. So have you considered interviewing people like George Knapp and James Fox? Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I worked for James Fox. If you've seen the documentary Out of the Blue, I did the visuals for that. He knows me. I've worked for him before, and I tried to get in contact with them. But we have this expression in the business, watchdogs. These are people who are hired to sit at a desk and look at the email coming in, and they don't know Danny Sheehan from Whitley Strieber. They just see that there's a name and, oh, I'd really like to make contact with James, and yeah, right, you and everyone else. And that's what happens. Off you go. You're into the ether there. So the watchdogs are hard to get past. Now, I sent him an email, and I made it clear that I worked on his show and I worked for him. He does know who I am. And I never heard back. I'm thinking about Whitley, and this is in Whitley. Whitley said this last night on the show. He said, when am I going to get to meet Danny Sheehan? I said, well, I had his son to my house for dinner. I didn't get to meet him either. And he says, well, yeah, the last time I talked to him, he says, Whitley, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. He says, that was 4 days ago. We both started laughing because it's so typical. That's not, I'm not picking on Danny. I get it. He's fine. His son was really nice. Also a vegan like us. He was very concerned about the whipping cream until he found out it was oat milk. So it was a very interesting evening. And I learned a lot about Danny by his son, because he was a really sweet, nice human being. But, Danny's crazy busy. Everybody's coming at him from all sides, wanting him on their shows and stuff. So I won't stop trying, to get these people on. George Knapp, I haven't tried to get in contact with. Maybe he'd come on. I admire him greatly. I met him once back in the 90s, and he was kind of a cold fish to me. But he didn't know who I was. We were on a program together about this subject, but he just really wouldn't talk to me. So I said, I admire your work. Thank you for doing that. She said, oh, you're very welcome. And that was like the end of that. But I think George has changed a lot over time. I think he's become more approachable and more friendly. And um, regardless, he has done such a fantastic job. Those 4 episodes he did of his show on Netflix, those were wonderful. It's a rare case when Netflix presents the subject matter unhindered by stupidity, as they did with the Manhattan abduction case. That was awful, in my opinion. It was very poorly done. And it was obvious they were just trying to make it sensational. What about Jake and the egg? I'd love to get Jake on. Anybody know him? Anyone can hook us up with him? Jacques Vallée is in France right now, but when he gets back, I'm going to get his email from Whitley, and I'm going to write to him. And I think, unlike a lot of other people, I'll hear back from him, because Jacques is an extremely nice human being. And I spent some good time, quality time with him back in the 90s. We were both on the Vicki Lawrence show together. And afterwards, he took me behind stage for a nice long talk. And it was like being with Lacombe in Close Encounters. It was amazing. He was amazing. The things he told me were amazing. But to this day, I don't know if I can share with you the things he told me. I need to ask his permission. We talked about that last night, Whitley and I. So I'm going to try to get Jacques on the show. Whitley had John Blitch on this week on Dreamland. We haven't been able to get him on the show. And yet he's been to our house and we hang out with him and stuff. So it's I don't know if it's complicated, but it's just, I think people are busy and they're scattered all about the place, and you can't take it personally. I'm new here. Maybe this has been discussed, but what do you think about Chris Bledsoe? I get a feeling that the guy's Sue happy, so I need to be careful.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. Yeah, I can't comment on Chris Bledsoe. I just can't. So, next question. Sorry, I know he's very popular and people think a lot about him, but I will say this: they're not demons
Or angels.
or angels. No, I mean, you could have a perspective of that, but that's your opinion, that's your perspective. But the facts are, with my own personal experience, is that they're neither demons nor angels. There's human beings that I would consider angels, like Mary, like Ann Strieber, and many of you here right now, Judy, Rachel, Ann, all of you, you're angels.
Rachel.
I said Rachel. you are. But then we have demons, and Whitley talked. I did not want to bring up politics or Musk or any of that stuff last night, but he did several times, and you could tell he was very annoyed by the stupidity of those men. And I'll leave it there. But if anybody's a demon, boy, those people are. You're taking the food out of people's mouths, and they have more money than anyone. So that's what demons do. Those are the real demons. All right, enough about angels and demons. See, what do you think about the nature of the visitors' brains? What do I think about the nature of their brains? We're talking about brains, not necessarily souls or consciousness. So their brains are different than ours. He talked about the fact that, because we're creatures with a voice, we speak using our voices, that We don't live as long, but in the time that we do live, we do some of the most amazing things that any species in the universe has ever done. Our art, our music. It's incredible. But we did discuss last night, Anne, as you well know, that because I asked him the question, I said, we are no longer in our bodies, we're the same. We're not in our brains anymore. We're not using the PC, and we're not driving this flesh and body android body. You know, it's and then we're the same. And they themselves have referred to that. That if you remember in Susan Alloway's case, that episode, I recommend that you all watch it. And Judy's, they both said the same thing, that we are all the same. I am you and you are me. And as Judy said, I am them. Which is sort of a play on words. It doesn't mean that you're one of these guys back here. But it means that our consciousness is shared, that it's the same, and not a hive mentality. We share a connection through consciousness. So,
God, why are they doing this?
We've had Preston on,
Took them off.
and I had one conversation with Dolly, and I decided that she wasn't a good fit for who we are. I'll just leave it at that. So, late kids. Hello, Groucho. Long time no see. As far as having guests on, for me, I mean, having Whitley on is the best. It really is. I mean, but just because we're old friends and we're on the same page, you know, you can't be on the same page with everybody, and we are fair. We do let people come on with other points of view, but I have my limits. You know, if their point of view is very negative and very dark, I don't want that for this channel. There's enough of that. We don't need to contribute to it. Yeah. You know, if someone doesn't fit, they belong somewhere else. You know, yeah, that's true. And there's plenty of somewhere else's places to go, because there are people who do shows that it's all about who they can get on and how much controversy is. So they don't care if the person is going to spend an hour telling you how you're going to be dead in 7 years, or 1932 being crushed to death by an asteroid or wiped out by aliens or something like that. It's all good for clickbait for them. It's all about the show. It's all about the ratings. It's all about the dollars they're going to make from all the views they're going to get. And we're not about that. It's fear mongering, and it's very popular. It's very entertaining. It's very successful. And have we watched it? Yes, we have watched it, because in order to have a fair opinion about something, you need to have actually seen it. And we've seen quite a lot. And there are some great people out there, but there's such an ocean of fear mongering and just people trying to get your clicks, trying to get your likes, trying to get your views so they can make more money from YouTube. Unfortunately, human beings are very, very much about making money, I think, more so than they should be. John, you know, she's very dark. And I don't agree with her that there are no non-human life forms here right now. They all left because what our sun's doing and going to do. That's clearly false, because there's so much evidence to support that ongoing experiences are happening right now. They've been on our show. And, you know, where's your proof? You know, you'd think that something that's so sophisticated that it can actually exist in both the realm of physical space, life that we're experiencing now, and the astral plane or the other side would have the ability technologically and spiritually not to worry about solar flares. That's just my opinion, but it's yeah. I just really I don't want to talk about her because it's just negative. We want to talk about the positive. There we go. Florida man had a very. I'll look over here, so I'm not doing that. Had a very strong experience. Where'd it go? Oh, on Friday morning. Wow. Uh, you're welcome to tell us about it. Do tell. I love it. Yeah, one of the things that Whitley always recommended to me that I don't do is talk about people. So, but I mean, I can talk about him. I can talk about Jacques. I can talk about Danny. I can talk about these people. They're very positive and they're very upbeat and they have our best interests at heart. But if somebody doesn't seem to have that, it's better not to talk about them at all. I agree with him.
Here's a question.
Okay. Do we know if some of the contacts visitors have been done another way, physical and spiritual? Yes, sure, absolutely. I mean, Whitley every morning at 3 a.m. meditates. Sometimes he meditates all night with the visitors, and it's a spiritual connection. Sometimes they actually physically appear to him. I wish I could do that myself, but I get up at 5:30 every day, and I really need my sleep. So getting up at 3 a.m. and doing that's really not an issue. But I mean, something I can do. But um, I do have experiences with them a lot of times when I'm first waking up in the morning and I close my eyes and I just get these visual inputs that are just amazing. And I even see them. I open my eyes up, there's nothing there, and I close them again, and there they are. And it's, but there are many, many people who have experiences with them other than on the physical. Because let's face it, we're not just physical beings; we're spiritual beings inhabiting a physical body in order to be here. So, okay, at 27 miles per hour, at 27 miles per hour, looking down early in the morning.
It's a bald eagle.
How did you know you were doing 27 miles an hour? If I'm not in a car, I don't know how fast I'm going. Was that an estimate? Rachel says very spiritual. Yes. You need to watch last night's show. Some you'll get some answers from it. You definitely will. Whitley talks about his implant and the relationship with the visitors and the other side, the thing that we've been cut off from. We think when we die, it's oblivion. We think when we lose people, they're gone forever. We've been cut off by our own people from the knowledge that when we cease, our brains cease to function, no more electrical activity, we move on to another plane, and that plane is where you'll find the visitors more often than not. And he talks about that. So do watch it. He was in his car. Okay. Oh, beautiful, tall, white, completely majestic. I hear that a lot, Florida man. I hear from a lot of people. And in fact, even in the letter that Mary read tonight, the lady saw a very tall, a white, glowing being. And I hear this all the time. I know somebody who had that very experience very early on in their life, and she was held by them. Oh, you look in your car. So, okay, this is kicking off my memory. I'm thinking about this now. I was meditating. We were doing yoga, and we always meditate during yoga, and we meditate before yoga. And I was meditating, and I was feeling kind of down, and I forget what it was about. I've had a lot of health issues over the year that I've that's been corrected, and I'm fine. But while you're in that space of not knowing how it's going to turn out, it can be hard, as many of you probably know. And I was meditating, and I was in deep concentration, and all of a sudden, and she was kind of white, but it was a gray, and it was the one I knew, the female with the big head, and Mary has a special name for her. And she was sitting across from me, also in a lotus position. She leaned towards me, and this is in blackness. I mean, it's just black. My eyes are closed, but I see her, and she puts her arms around me and holds me and tells me everything's going to be okay. And then she was gone. Was that spiritual? I think it was. Rachel has had them. Oh, there's Judy. Hi, Judy. How did I miss you? Maybe when we die, we wake up. Yeah. Yeah. There's a great Star Trek episode with Jean-Luc Picard where he passes out on the bridge for 20 minutes and has an entire lifetime in another life, in another world, and then wakes up from it after he dies. It was a great one. I can't remember the name of it. I even met the author. Physical speech. Do you guys think that physical speech hampers communication? That is that why the visitors speak to us. Well, I was talking about Whitley about this last night, and what I think is going on here is that they are communicating with us, but if it's the Greys, they don't have speech. They don't communicate that way. But we interpret it as speech, and our mind processes it into something that we'll understand, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Because I could swear they're speaking to me, and I often hear it's a female voice. But that I think more and more, I'm starting to think that's like a choice we make in order to interpret them. Whitley doesn't get any visuals from them; he just gets data, ideas, and his books come from that a lot of times. With me, I get visuals, and if you think about it, I'm a filmmaker and an artist. I mean, an artist, a writer's an artist, but I'm a visual artist. So they communicate with Whitley in terms of ideas. They give him ideas and how it goes into his implant in his ear and somehow filters into his consciousness, and he comes up with the wonderful things we have from him. In my case, it would seem that I get these, I wake up and it's like, God, I can see this amazing thing. And I write it down and I turn it into a film if I can. And if not, I turn it into artwork. So, but they're not speaking. So telepathy is just a direct communication. Yeah. But, and it's funny that, not all conscious, all beings have it, but it has been shown that we do. So we're kind of a mix. Well, sure, absolutely, Mary. The film that I ran at the beginning of this, and many of you have seen it already, The Invited, has no dialogue in it at all. Not any. And none of my films probably ever will. I mean, not unless someone gives me a few $1,000,000 to make a feature film, and of course I have to have that. Inner Light, thank you. Laura. Then of course I'm going to have actors and they're going to speak and stuff. But as an artist doing my short films, I get the idea as a visual for the film, like the Lighthouse Keep I'm doing right now, which You may wonder how Lighthouse Keep has anything to do with the subject matter, but you'll find out soon enough. And I just I don't even write it down anymore. I just go into the computer, I start setting up scenes, I make wireframes, I start setting up my animations, my lighting, my sets and everything, and I just make the film from scene to scene to scene. And that's how The Invited was done. There was no script for that at all. It just, I knew it and I just did it, which seems kind of crazy and impossible, but that's how it worked with me. And ironically, when Whitley does his books, it works that way too, except it's on writing instead of visual. The Inner Light was one of my favorite shows, and the interesting thing about that is that when I saw it, I was just sure that the writer had experienced that. What I mean by that is I had an experience, a dream, when I was in high school, and I dreamed an entire lifetime. I got old, everything, just like an Inner Light, and woke up just completely disoriented and couldn't even like connect with my reality that quickly again. And I remember having to go to school, and it was just awful. I didn't even want to be there. I didn't want to be around anybody. I had this sense of loss. And then all these years later, I see that and I think, oh, this writer must have had that experience. And I'm not alone in this. And we're having a Star Trek a party, actually. It's a party at our studio, our film studio. And there were some celebrities there, and they were interesting. Even Whitley was there, and DC Fontana was there, who wrote many of the original Star Trek episodes, some of the best ones ever done. We were friends. She loved coming to our parties. But this guy from NASA came, and he brought with him his friend, and he brings him over to introduce him to me, and it's the guy who wrote Inner Light. And I asked him, he said, no, he'd never had a dream like that. Isn't that something? And then our toilet stopped working, and the guy from NASA fixed it. Remember that, Mary?
Yeah.
So our toilet's actually been fixed by NASA. I don't think everybody. We've run into a lot of people from NASA in our travels. It's interesting because they have an interest in this subject, and they have an interest in Star Trek, and the two worlds kind of come together because Gene was quite the visionary. So, how are we doing on time, Mary? I've been just kind of
We have
babbling.
as much time as we need.
Okay. What is Rachel saying? Very ancient place beyond my ancestors. That's what I'm hoping to have an experience. So, from Dublin, Ireland. I had an interesting dream the other night about it didn't have Taylor Swift in it. Groucho. And I think Mary will remember it, but there were 3 Native American tribal elders that I spent some time with by a pond, and I can't remember all of it, but they were telling me all kinds of things, imparting knowledge on me, which I'm hoping comes out because I don't remember it, but I remember at the moment, and I remember their faces, and they were dressed from in period Native American attire and headdresses, and it was wonderful. I felt so at peace with them. I don't know what that was about. Maybe they were my spirit guides. I don't know. That was really something. So you dreamed about Taylor Swift 3 months before she. Turning tests on. Tests, dials, lights. I've had that back in the 90s. They would sit me in front of screens, like 3 screens, and they were 3D, and things were coming at me, and there were these jewels I had to put my hand on and learn how to control the objects coming out of the screen. I remember that one. In fact, I did drawings of it. Well, the thing about, and this somewhat relates to the fourth mind. The thing is, 2,000 years ago, before the Europeans came here, the indigenous people, they didn't think twice about what we're talking about right now. It was completely natural talking to people that came from the stars, the star people. It's apparent by their art on the rocks. It's apparent by their stories, which they've maintained through all these years. And I think that when the Europeans came here, they just thought, well, they're savages and they're crazy, and nobody talks to people from the stars. That's all just fantasy. No one ever took it seriously. Big mistake. We all had that at one time, but it was driven out of us. The people in power made sure that anyone who could heal or communicate with the dead or had telepathy or any gifts like that, they didn't want that because they couldn't control those people. And the Native Americans, I mean, I think skinwalking is real. And I think that many, many, many of the things they talk about were very real because no one told them they couldn't walk on water. So if you don't know you can't, maybe you can. And it kind of goes like that. They called us witches. Yes, they did call us witches. And it was horrible what happened to those people. And it wasn't just women, it was men too. They burned them all. And there was a purpose behind it. Also, there was a lot of it that was mass hysteria too, because people were so afraid, just like they are today, of anything they don't understand that's been kept from them. And instead of the European culture embracing what they called myths and the legends of things they couldn't control or explain, we're suffering for it today. Fourth Mind discusses what it did to our lineage and our DNA. Yeah. But you know what? They didn't get all of us. I know all kinds of witches and people that can do amazing things with their minds. And at this point in time, it might be a good idea to start using that for very constructive purpose. And that's one that will lift the tyranny.
I'll let her go with that because that's not accurate.
So, at the very little. I'm just looking at comments. That's why I went quiet. Judy, we are witches. Okay. So, how many of you have had a chance to read The Fourth Mind? I know Anne read it. I get the feeling Judy read it. Good night, Florida man. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed the communion letter, the first one. I'm very proud of it and very pleased to be able to bring those into public view in that way. Okay, read it twice. Read it twice. Wow, read it twice. Good job, Ann. Rachel's halfway through it. Mike has got his hand up. Judy's still reading it. Okay. And Simon Wells says, anyone who's different. Yeah, because we're all supposed to fit into a little box and we're all supposed to be the same. Sit at the same cubicle. Don't ask questions because they're a burden to others. And just do what you're told and be harvested by your own people. Forget people who come in the night and take you away and show you the stars and other things and then put you back. When our people take you away, they don't put you back. You're theirs forever if you let it happen. So I don't find anything more frightening than mankind on this planet. I've come across rattlesnakes, mountain lion, bears, even sharks in the water. But I've never been so frightened as I have been by facing a person who wanted to kill me and knew better. It wasn't because he was an animal or she was an animal and was hungry and wanted to feed her babies. It was because they didn't like the way I thought or what I said, or wanted to take from me what I have. Humans do that. Very scary. So I don't know how we ever rid our species of that, but I hope we can. Yes, humans are the scariest animals. Yeah. Well, it's cheap and it's on Amazon, Simon. So you can just order it and read it. I think you'll find it. Some of you who are more technically minded will really enjoy reading about what the gray's body is like and how it works and what its feet look like, which has not been talked about very much. Whitley, for the longest time, would not talk about certain details involved with the visitors and how they looked. Because one of the things that will tip you off when someone talks to you about this experience is if they tell you, and their feet were strange, they weren't like our feet, and they describe them accurately, and there's no way they could know that if they hadn't had the experience, unless that's a good guess. There are other aspects too. I've noticed lately that a lot of people who have been interviewed about their experiences, even this Zulu in Africa was talking about experiences. He described the smell of them, and they can have a smell, and it's you will find if you read the Fourth Mind that they're the way they excrete waste is not the way we excrete waste, and it can smell, but they also wear something to conceal it. So I don't want to tell things that are in the books. I want you to read the book, and you'll find it very interesting how when one of these bodies was autopsied that they found how it functioned and how different from ours. And keep in mind that these bodies are just bodies. The consciousness in them is no longer there. And I'm pretty sure from the Gray's point of view, they're expendable. And, we think we've shot them down and captured them. Oh, aren't we clever? No, they let it happen. They wanted us to think that we did. And they wanted us, I think, to be able to examine their bodies and understand a little bit about what we were dealing with. And same thing goes to the technology and the crafts and everything else. Trust me, if they didn't want to be shot down, they wouldn't be. I agree with Whitley and several other people about that. Some people said that it was a gift, the technology, but right away, it all went to the Defense Department, and that was the wrong thing to use it for, in my opinion. Huh. It's interesting, Anne. Very interesting. Whitley was going to try to make it in here tonight, but he he's just really busy, just like we all are with this, and he spent a great deal of his time. We were only supposed to do an hour last night. He went for 2 hours. So, and we'll have him back again. But I'm going to have to wrap it up here.
Dog needs to be fed.
The dog needs to be fed. We need to be fed, and it's been a long day. But I wanted to have the after show, as we always do, and be able to talk to you guys and have a nice open chat as we've had. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Next week, we don't have anything happening next week, although Friday
No,
next
it's Friday.
I know, and Friday we always have a show. Excuse me, got the burps. Please forgive me. And who do we have that Friday?
Oh, hold on, I'll look at the calendar.
Mary's looking at the calendar. We're booked all the way through March. It's amazing. And we got some very interesting people. I'm still trying to figure out why that's happening with the green screen. Mary's going to tell us here in a second. Let's see if I turn that off. Does it get worse?
Okay.
Interesting. But on March 8th.
Okay, Dustin Eskelson from MUFON.
Oh, Dustin
Colorado.
Eccleston from MUFON. Okay. And Dustin's going to talk to us about
What they're doing in Colorado.
what they're doing in Colorado. Well, that should be interesting. The last time we had someone on from MUFON, we made a nice new friend.
I have to go plug my phone.
And no, that was done. We met him at the MUFON meeting. At the MUFON meeting. This is a wonderful human being who has investigated Skinwalker Ranch and a lot of other places and a lot of cases that are just amazing. And he went into such detail about it. Now he's not an experiencer, but the thing about this guy, Dustin, and this is this next Friday's show, he is with us. Boy, is he with us. He's one of these MUFON people that actually accepts that you and I have these experiences and how important it is and how much can be learned from it. So you don't want to miss that show. So anyway, thanks so much, you guys. I love you all. You are definitely a wonderful family, and I'll miss you, but we're going to be together again on Friday and throughout the week in chat and, well, not chat, but in conversation in community, which is now called Post. So anyway, you guys have a great evening. And here's Nova right down here telling me, feed me.